A recent intelligence report from a European Union country, published by the publication Important Stories, has sparked a wave of discussion among experts. The document claims that Vladimir Putin has allegedly taken up residence in a secure bunker in the Krasnodar Territory. The reason for this seclusion is said to be growing paranoia and fear of his inner circle, specifically fears of a coup d'état, attributed to Sergei Shoigu. Bild writes about this. However, Ruslan Leviev, founder of the Conflict Intelligence Team Investigative Group, expressed considerable skepticism about this data. He believes the presented material is unconvincing and contains logical inconsistencies. Leviev points to specific military preparations that contradict the findings of European intelligence. He notes that significant air defense forces are being deployed specifically to the Valdai residence, not to the Krasnodar Territory. The expert asks, then it's strange, why are they suddenly erected in Valdai, where he supposedly no longer hangs out, and why, on the contrary, aren't they erected somewhere in Sochi, where he supposedly hides? This discrepancy in the deployment of air defense systems casts doubt on the theory that the southern bunker became the president's main residence. Leviev calls the notion of Putin's paranoia an open secret, emphasizing that Russians have known this for many years. However, he urges a distinction to be made between the leader's personal fears and the real state of affairs. The expert assesses the likelihood of a conspiracy by Sergei Shoigu as extremely low. The main arguments against the coup theory: lack of support. In the event of an attempt to seize power, the army is unlikely to side with Shoigu. Change of status: Shoigu no longer heads the Ministry of Defense, which deprives him of direct administrative resources within the military department. In summary, Ruslan Leviev characterized the report as a weak piece that adds nothing fundamentally new to the information landscape. He stated that the material is based on clearly contradictory facts and provides no compelling evidence of a change in the location of the country's main bunker. Recall, European intelligence agency said that Russian security officials have drastically reduced the number of locations that Putin regularly visits, the report says. He and his family have stopped going to their usual residences in the Moscow region and at Valdai, the president's secluded summer property which lies between St. Petersburg and the capital. The dossier, released to CNN and other media outlets by a source close to a European intelligence agency, comes at a time of a growing perceived crisis around the Kremlin, 4 years into its brutal and ill-fated war. Russian losses, estimated by Western nations, of around 30,000 dead and injured each month, coupled with limited territorial gains on the front line, and repeated drone attacks by Ukraine deep inside Russia, have taken the toll of the conflict to a level many believe is unsustainable. Just on Sunday night, a drone hit a high-rise apartment building in an upscale neighborhood of western central Moscow, according to local authorities and videos from the scene. The economic cost of the war is now palpable, with cell phone data outages that regularly blight major cities angering even the pro-Putin bourgeoisie, adding to a sense of the war beginning to hit the urban elite, who until now were mostly isolated from the invasion's impact. The report provides rare detail of Moscow's concerns over deteriorating internal security. It also outlines potentially embarrassing details of a blow-up in the Russian security and military command over who was responsible for the protection of top brass, something it says prompted the review of Putin's protocols and the extension of a higher level of personal security to 10 more senior commanders. The report says that, since the beginning of March 2026, the Kremlin and Vladimir Putin himself have been concerned about potential leaks of sensitive information, as well as the risk of a plot or coup attempt targeting the Russian president. He is particularly wary of the use of drones for a possible assassination attempt by members of the Russian political elite. But the most striking conclusion concerns erstwhile Putin confidant, Sergei Shoigu. The sidelined former defense minister, currently serving as Secretary of the Security Council, is associated with the risk of a coup, as he retains significant influence within the military high command, the report says. It adds the arrest of Shoigu's former deputy and close associate, Ruslan Leviev, on March 5 is considered a breach of the tacit protection agreements among elites, weakening Shoigu and increasing the likelihood that he himself could become the target of a judicial investigation. Russia's investigative committee said in a March statement that Leviev had been arrested on charges related to embezzlement, money laundering and bribery. Reports of corruption in the military elite are frequent but have multiplied since the Ukraine invasion began. The report does not provide evidence to support the claims against Shoigu, who was formerly seen as very close to Putin, and a bid to unseat the Russian president would mark a stark reversal in allegiance. Given its release may be aimed at destabilizing the Kremlin, it is notable that the European intelligence service would at the same time effectively forewarn the Kremlin of a possible coup. Putin survived a previous coup attempt in June 2023, when mercenary boss Yevgeny Prigozhin led a failed march on Moscow. Internal disputes in the Moscow elite are often subject to heavy speculation but rarely exposed. And deep into the invasion of Ukraine, as U.S. support for Kyiv dwindles, European intelligence agencies have significant motivation to suggest mounting strife and paranoia in the Kremlin. CNN recalls that some of the security measures around Putin detailed have been reported previously, or were widely presumed to be the case, including the intensive body searches, the Kremlin's avoidance of smartphones and restriction of the president's movements. Putin is still regularly seen in public, this week meeting with Chechen leader Ramzan Kadyrov and Iran's foreign minister, Abbas Araghchi. Putin began isolating himself during the COVID-19 pandemic, often sitting at the end of a long table from his high-profile guests, up until he ordered the February 2022 invasion. Reports have suggested he uses the same office setup in multiple locations from which to address his cabinet by video link. The intelligence report suggested a heated exchange between top brass in a Kremlin meeting late last year, with Putin partially sparked the new measures. After the assassination of Lieutenant General Fanil Sarvarov in Moscow on December 22, 2025, presumably by Ukrainian agents, Putin summoned key security personnel 3 days later. The intelligence report also says, at the end of this tense meeting, Vladimir Putin called for calm, proposing an alternative working format and instructing participants to present concrete solutions to the issue within 1 week. That quick solution involved Putin extending the reach of his own Federal Protection Service, which at that time only protected Gerasimov in the military command, to provide security to 10 more senior commanders.